picking up the pieces of my sweet shattered dream. I wonder how the old folks are tonight. Her name was Anne, and I'll be damned if I recall her face. She left me not knowing what to do. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Carefree highway, you've seen better days, the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Turning back the pages to the times I love best, I wonder if she'll ever do the same. Now the thing that I call living is just being satisfied with knowing I got no one left to blame. Carefree highway, got to see
Very refreshing coffee. You know, it was brought to my attention that a lot of my episodes these days have become a lot longer than they used to be. Because the early days of the channel, it was mostly just me sitting at home, cooking some meals, and I was kind of doing a very basic episode. But as time went on, as you saw, they got a little more elaborate, put more music, put more exploration, so it's kind of hard to keep them short now. Especially because now that I use a lot of music, I like to have those montages around when I'm wandering through the streets of Montreal. But you know, I digress. Welcome to another edition of the Wandering Yuki Cheese Cafe. And I'm actually coming to you from an interesting spot. This is Café Bravo on the Saint-Laurent Boulevard. I know Saint-Laurent once again. I'm going to keep going along that street because I always find something new around here. But something I kind of want to check out for a little bit of time, mostly because it's actually a rarity. It's like a coffee shop / record store and other music paraphernalia. Based on what I saw quickly on their Instagram page, it looks like Bravo Records is located around here. There aren't really any artists I know offhand. Must be some Quebec artists that I'm not too familiar with. So I might have to do a deeper dive. But I just thought it was kind of cool. Having a record store and a coffee shop all together, that's like hard to find. Like the only thing I remembered seeing that was very close to that was Move On. That was like a cafe in Florence, Italy that I ran into where the first floor was a cafe bar. Because when you talk about cafes in Italy, you're essentially talking about a bar. First floor was a cafe, then you go up a flight of stairs or up the elevator. That was going to be a record store. You could find a whole bunch of cool stuff, which I thought, how has nobody ever come up with that idea before? So it's pretty neat. And it kind of reminds me that there's a spot that I need to check out in Villeray called Bar Le Record, which looks like it's also a record store / bar, like a little north within Montreal. So something else I could do whenever I'm doing a Villeray wander. But anyways, I just wanted to enjoy the little wander around today. Just take my time, enjoy, and kind of remind myself too that we're almost getting to the end of summer. Because compared to some of my other videos I've been doing lately, I've had a lot of sunshine, very little clouds and rain, but today seemed like it was one of the cooler rainy days. Like we're talking about 18 degrees, and I'm talking 18 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit. It's like one of the cooler days. But it's not to say it doesn't happen that often, because it does. Because I do recall, like maybe around the second week of August last year, I did have to wear like a long sleeve shirt and this hat. Yeah, this is my fall winter hat in case you couldn't tell. Yet, I do have a photographic evidence of that. If you look on the top right corner, you're gonna see that really coolish day when I was wandering around the Olympic Park, Maisonneuve Park, and Beaubien Street East once again. You know, it does happen from time to time. All this to say, this episode, I don't really have a set plan. We're just gonna finish up the coffee and see where we go from there. But before we do that, I'm gonna make one last suggestion. Click that subscribe button below, put the notification bell to on so that way when you get a new video, there's a pop-up on your phone that's ready to view. And like this video, hit that thumbs up button down below because the more likes I get, the more this video is promoted on the channel across YouTube. You know, if I really want to get myself a brew, I would have stopped over here at Ciboire, but truth of the matter is that I've come here so many times in the last 2 years that I feel like I could probably showcase something else on the channel, but it's definitely awesome, especially at this time of the year we could get a whole bunch of nice IPAs on tap. Wait, is that a raindrop? There we go, much better. And I would not be doing anything justice if I didn't show off Larry's once again. Had a really nice beef tartare here, like probably over a month ago. And in case you want, I'm putting a card in the top right corner for you to watch, because I love putting together that episode, all the spots that I hit up, and also using Stevie Wonder as background music for myself. But yeah, so it's basically like a lot of stuff I could discover on Saint-Laurent, like I keep saying. I keep telling you, I'm drawn to the street because there's always something new to find out about. And it's like a nice way to document and show off everything around here. And funny thing about documenting, because recently I was actually going through some of my old videos, trying to go through some old hard drives and reorganize everything, and kind of realized that, how can I put this? You know how some people keep a journal on hand whenever they're on the road or doing stuff, and then they can look back and basically be able to see what was going on in their life at the time? And not just a journal like a diary to kind of talk about stuff, but I think I realized that when I was putting together these videos and looking back, not only does it feel like a journal, like basically a journey of my life in the last few years, but it's almost like a time capsule of things that might have been going on back, you know, over the last few years too. Whether I'm documenting the pandemic, things have gone on in my life. So yeah, it's a weird feeling because I could go to a video, see when I was recording, I could tell you, yep, that's basically what I was thinking, and I know exactly what was going through my mind at that moment. It's a very funny feeling. I didn't realize that would happen when I put together all these YouTube videos, but here we are today. Now, I'm right now in Mile N, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna go next.
They say the neon lights are bright on Broadway. On Broadway. They say there's always magic in the air. On Broadway. But when you're walking,
Once again, you take a random turn, you find some random graffiti or street art on some of these walls. I see what looks like probably an Xbox controller, but it could be like a hybrid based on a controller pad. But the other thing that catches my eye is the general artwork. I feel like this style will be on the Knowlton Brewing Co. packages. It's a beer that I've had a few times and noticed that, I don't know, the colors, the art style seems very similar.
but looking at them just gives me the blues. Cause how you gonna make some time?
Some bits of graffiti here that kind of scream Montreal once more. I see something immortalizing the New Look bus that used to run around with number 55 on it. That's the Saint-Laurent line. I see also the Saint-Viateur Simon that I would see on the street. The bagel shop, of course. Beaubien, and someone riding the bike with looks like an Italian design, like it's the colors of the Italian flag. I'm telling you, go everywhere around here, you find lots of artwork to admire. And I think Beaubien is appropriate because I feel like making a trip back down there once more. I'm kind of drawn to that area, especially that stretch in between Saint-Laurent up until like Christophe Colomb, because there's a few nice cafes, bars, and restaurants I've checked out over the last year, maybe even 2 years. And there's one stretch I kind of want to look at once more, and maybe I'll be going there for supper tonight.
Down by the sea, on a blanket with my baby's where I'll be.
Beaubien Street East. You don't need me to repeat it, but it's a street I know all too well, mostly further towards the east. This side, I feel like when I was growing up, I didn't really explore it as much because we never really had a reason to come along here. If we did come here, it was always within a bus ride or maybe driving by, but wasn't really too much I remember looking around it. Like, I wouldn't even be able to tell you from then that Saint-Viateur Butcher would have existed back then. But I've heard it's supposed to be nice because you can get Milanesa. Milanesa is basically Portuguese, or not Portuguese, like a Latin style of schnitzel. So you just take a small piece of beef, put it up in breading, bake it, and then voila. It's supposed to be really nice. I've come to a few other spots though. Peluso, the corner store with the insane amount of microbrewery beers. That's around here. There's also a Mustache Cafe. And, oh yeah, Il de Gaude is also further up. But this spot that I'm walking along, according to my Aunt Helen, she sent me this article that stretch between Saint-Laurent up to maybe Saint-Denis is supposed to have a lot of nice eateries, giving off the Mile End vibe. So you're kind of smack in the middle of the actual Mile End and Little Italy, so it does give you something a bit different. But I'm not going to be going there just yet because I do have an idea where I could get my first drink.
I can see her lying back in her satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. She's been looking like a queen in a sailor.
Yeah, Plaza Saint-Hubert. Been around here many times over the last few years. And funny enough, there is a sidewalk sale going on, which almost coincides with like 2 years ago when I recorded my Road to Little Ukraine and Rosemont video to kind of explore where I grew up around and where my babcha used to live. I'm not going to put a card to that because I've already referenced that countless times. But what I'm thinking is, there was a sidewalk sale around the same time for that, and I do remember seeing some Colombian dancing too. I think what they like to do is they like to set up this as kind of a back-to-school event for, I think, the midweek, like mid-month of August. So it's like the third weekend of August they tend to do this. So all the vendors for shoes, clothing, and a whole bunch of stuff happen to be around here. On one hand, the roofing that you see all around does give a little bit of shelter to the product, but at the same time, you know, it's still an outdoor sidewalk sale, so it's kind of a drag that it's really bad weather today because I'm sure had it been nicer, this would have been packed. And I know I have some footage of that from last year too. Oh well, I kind of have an idea where I want to get a drink, and luckily I'm going to be close by to that. So you might say it might stir up a little bit of curiosity. Very nice. So if you need any further proof of me saying that some areas have changed a lot since I grew up, this part is a perfect example because this is within Plaza Saint-Hubert, and I know that a bar like this, Chez Ernest, would never have existed if back in my grandmother's day. And funny enough, I actually paid a visit to this last year when I did a little walk around Park Avenue. And if you want to see that again, I'll put a card in the top right corner to revisit that. So, is this like a random wander that I did once? Stumbled across this and thought, Chez Ernest, comptoir de curiosité. So that translates to curiosity counter, or I guess curiosity cabinet. So whenever I pass by here, I always think to myself, yep, this just makes me think of the Curiosity Shop from Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. And you do get a lot of curiosities around here, because you got this weird, almost awesome decor. You got skulls hanging on the wall, you got chandeliers, which as you can see in the background, that it's all like a whole bunch of old style decor, almost like something you'd have in your grandparents' house. There's even some other neat stuff. The beer taps, they're all made out of insects covered in resin, or at least I'm guessing it's imitation insects, so there's a lot of crazy stuff here. And funny thing is that this is actually a pretty new place. I saw earlier in the summer that they actually celebrated their 2-year anniversary, so it means that this spot has not been around for that long. The only thing that does seem to really make it look like it's rustic is the brick wall that's on the background. Because a lot of places around Montreal, you're going to see that here. Coffee shops, some kinds of bars, so it's pretty common style. I like coming here for that. And also brought some of my friends over, my stooges. They love the spot too, along with the decor. Oh yeah, in case you're wondering what I'm drinking, I'm doing something called Tamea from La Gabière. it's a Northeast IPA, and ta meilleure basically means your best. And it feels like it's a good one to do because A, I'm within my grandmother's hood, and B, the brewer is actually located in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. And going by some information I was given by my Aunt Helen when I was doing an episode on my grandmother, it turns out that my grandfather on my mom's side was actually born in Saint-Jean-d'Iberville, which eventually became part of Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu during the mega mergers with all those cities. I think Saint-Jean-d'Iberville is supposed to be the old Saint-Jean, but yeah, it's got an old style vibe from some of the pictures I've seen. Also, you'll find, in addition to Lagabière, lenoise.ca. That's a record store that my old boss from HMV had opened up. It started as an online business and eventually became a boutique over there. So awesome selection, especially if you're looking for t-shirts that are hard to come by, you won't find in most other stores. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Cheers to a Saturday and probably a back to school too. Yep, sorry Stooges. I know you're watching and I know you got to go back to school, but that's the reality. Can't really fight that. Very funny, Dave. It's been a while since I hacked my channel.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old time.
Skeletons and skulls seem to be the running theme on this menu here, but I guess considering that I do have skulls hanging around here, that anything morbid and strange or macabre, that's probably going to be the running theme. Now, when I look at the rest of this menu, the Scotch selection is also pretty awesome, and they're not too expensive. Like, you're looking at, for, let's say, the Scottish whiskeys, you're probably looking at $10 to $17 for like an ounce, or an ounce and a half, I suppose. So nothing too crazy. Something else that does make this kind of unique is that they do put on the first page here an absinthe menu. I don't think I've ever seen a bar that actually has a dedicated absinthe menu. It's almost like you do have to look around for it. I don't exactly know what it is. Like, I think my buddy Dave told me it's supposed to taste a little bit like black licorice. Essentially, if you know Pastis de Marseille or that kind of drink, it does have a bit of a black licorice taste. I know because my uncle does enjoy that, because I have an uncle who's part French, like France French, and he does take that from time to time. So maybe he knows a thing or two about absinthe. I only had like one experience with it. Like, it was made in a cocktail with a huge block of ice, which is a good thing because when you look at the strength of the absinthe, you look like maybe 55%, 69%, 70%. So yeah, this is not exactly something you want to abuse. You want to really take your time and be careful with this stuff. I'd say it's pretty nice. And the food over here, it's simple. Most of what you get are what they call the tartine salée, like, I guess, salty, well, whatever, I'm not going to think about the translation. Essentially, you get things like served on what's called pain campagnard, type of French bread with a lot of cheese, and you could do like any kind of charcuterie or types of meat. And yes, there's veggie options too in case you're a vegetarian, with a little salad on the side. So it's pretty nice. Simple stuff, but highly effective. Or if you prefer, you can always get yourself like 3 side dishes and combine it together. That's perfect if you want to be sharing with a bunch of people. Amazing. So something else I forgot to mention, that there are some really neat events that would happen over here. Monday nights, from what I've seen, is improv night, where you could go up there. It's open mic night. You just try to crack a few jokes and see if you can be a proper comedian. But the other fun thing is, if you come here on a Tuesday night at 8 p.m., that's when they would give some free swing dance lessons. So if you like swing dancing or you just want to have a good time, you probably want to visit this. I haven't experienced it myself because I'm never around here at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, but maybe one day, next time I have time off, I'll visit it. And I wanted to stick around for another brew here because there was one thing on the menu that I wanted to showcase again, because the other one I had was a good 7% New England IPA, so it's amazing, but it's obviously a strong one. So I decided to go over something that's maybe around close to half the strength. It's something from the brewer Chandeliers, and it's called African Queen. Wait, really? Caribbean? Oh, okay, I see what you did there. Caribbean, African, it has the same number of syllables, but yeah, I get it. Basically, thank you, Billy Ocean, for that. So, regardless, this thing is actually a session New England IPA, or maybe just a session IPA. So it's like 3.8%, definitely on the lighter side, and it's one you can drink on your own without feeling, you know, the abuse that you have for a really strong IPA. So it's also a pretty awesome one. And I did have this the time that I came here with my stooges back on my summer vacation. That was never recorded, but you know, I could have done a little episode with them. I just didn't want to subject them to my vlogging. So, cheers to the African Queen. Ooh, very nice. So the beauty of a session IPA is that you get the hops and sometimes the citrus fruitiness that you would get from an IPA, but you don't have the same strength as it. So you can kind of get away with having one of these at lunchtime, assuming you drink at lunch. So I think my buddy told me that the session IPA was created in England. Something like if you're a factory worker and you're having your lunch, you would probably have one of these so you can have a beer with your meal without getting completely shit-faced. Because last thing you need to really get drunk before going back to a factory or, you know, whatever manual labor you're working at the time. But it's a good one. Sessions are pretty awesome. And the tricky thing too is that with some lighter beers, the lighter alcohol content means you might get less flavor. In some cases, there are exceptions like this one. Lovely stuff. So now my plan is I'm going to finish this one up, and then it's probably going to be close to supper time, and I'll probably hit up one of those spots on Beaubien Street that I mentioned earlier in the episode. So stay tuned. Okay, I've just been here for a couple of minutes and already I'm loving the music, because earlier they were playing a little bit of Lionel Richie all night long. Not only was that something that my mom used to listen to a lot back in the day, but I do have an uncle who used to have a Lionel Richie style haircut, and we always used to get a kick out of it. And now we're getting into Michael Jackson, so it's kind of the vibe I'm looking for on a Saturday night. So this spot that I'm at is called, oh hang on, let me just adjust my camera. There we go. I want to make sure I'm as straight as possible. So this place that I'm at is called Buvette Beaubien. So on my travels around the area, I have seen a number of places that are called Buvettes. Like there's this place, there's Ellsdale, further along Beaubien, close to my grandmother's spot, that would say it's a Buvette du Quartier or Buvette of the area. And it's a little bit like a bistro that I see that name a lot, but I would think, what is it supposed to mean? So I did have to do some research because I want to make sure I could talk intelligently. A buvette is supposed to be like an informal, like a very easygoing type of restaurant, almost like a bistro. But the thing is that you stop here to maybe get a glass of wine, a light meal, and maybe have a coffee along the way. So there are some differences with a bistro. Perfect example is if you're to get beef tartare over here, at a bistro, you're going to get it with fries or salad. If you get it at a buvette, it's most likely going to be probably with a small salad on the side. So you're not going to be having a very heavy meal when you're here. And sometimes when in Rome, you got to do something a little bit different. Yes, everyone. So for the first time on the channel on my own, I'm doing a glass of wine. I know that could be kind of deadly because the last time I did that on camera, or one of the last times, I ended up getting booed for it. Yeah. I think that clip is going to haunt me to the rest of my days. But essentially, I'm usually a beer guy, and if you know me well enough, if there's something that's on tap, I'm going to be having that. The thing is that with some buvettes, if you're going to order a beer, most of the time it's going to be the canned stuff, and it's mostly a place to have a glass of wine, or if you're a group of people, you would be having a bottle of wine that's split a couple of ways. Me, I'm alone. I'm not going to have a bottle of wine of my own, so I thought, let's have like a glass for something that's a bit more my style. It's a red wine, and this one is Buondona 2020. So it's a classic Chianti. If you've seen Silence of the Lambs, then you know what a Chianti is. Something from the Tuscany region of Italy. I've been in the Tuscany region because Florence is actually within the Tuscan region, so I do have some experience with it. Very nice. Because one thing I can say, my taste in wine is I like it kind of dry, maybe semi-sweet at best, but I don't like it too sugary. One thing I always like to look for is, what is the sugar content with my wine? If it's like 5 grams of sugar per liter or less, that's within my range. Anything more might be a little bit sweet. There's a couple of good ones you can find. They're maybe in the 8-gram range. Anything more than that, like 40 grams, that's a little bit like drinking juice, and I can always tell with the texture of my mouth. If I were to rub my lips together, it would have a very rough texture. I kind of like my wines very light. It's a good stuff. Oh yeah. Cheers to one of the rare glasses of wine on camera. Looking very good right now. So if you've been following me for a while, you already know I love my beef tartare, so any opportunity I get, I'm always going to take advantage to have that when I'm out and about, mostly because it's not a meal that I make for myself at home, but one of these days I might have to experiment with it. Now, this one they say is supposed to be the style of the Buvette Beaubien, but I'd have to look up exactly what it is. And as you can see, this tartare is a very light dish. So you got your meat, your piece of croutons, or like these flatbreads you would eat it with, and a small arugula salad. So essentially, whenever you come to a Buvette, that's a style meal that you would be getting with it. And this is the reason why I had the red wine to go along with the meal, because there are some wine pairings you gotta take into account. White wines, they're really good for seafood, for fish, for salmon. Red wines are perfect when you're gonna be eating meat, like beef, pork, maybe chicken. There are some exceptions to that, because some white wines might go good with meat, but for all intents and purposes, the general rule of thumb is stick with red wines whenever you're having a beef tartare. I'm definitely digging it. Now, if I was to make an educated guess about this, it's probably going to be some oil, shallots like green onions, maybe some garlic, cheese. At least I think this is cheese. I actually can't put my finger on what that is. But generally, the way you dress it up, that's going to make a big difference about it. And everyone seems to have their own style of preparing their beef tartare. This is Buvette Beaubien's. I've been to other places where they had like flakes of Parmesan cheese, hot peppers, even topped with white cheddar and popcorn of all things. So you never know what you're going to get when you're around here. Very nice. But once again, I got to say, you know, I keep forgetting, but arugula could actually be a very spicy kind of vegetable, like naturally spicy. I like it. It's something different from time to time. But I do have to say, this kind of spot, I feel like that this wouldn't have existed when my grandmother was still around the area. Because again, this part of Beaubien I haven't really explored as much, so I have no point of reference to base it on. But I can tell you, like, this would not have been around. The only downside is that because it's raining, I wasn't able to get onto the terrace there. It's a very nicely designed terrace, almost like lattice fencing that's around the whole patio, some vines that are right on top, some flowers. Almost feels very, I don't know, what's the best thing I'm looking for? Well, you know, I guess very tropical looking. funny enough, the first time I visited this place, like a while back before I decided to do an episode, it was also a rainy day. I'm sure one of these days I'll be able to come back and I'll be able to show it off on a nicer day.
Rainy day people always seem to know when it's time to call. Rainy day people don't talk, they just listen till they've heard it all.
It was a very nice meal indeed. So, if ever you were looking for a good beef tartare and you happen to be in the Rosemont area, like somewhere between Mile End, Little Italy, this place is definitely recommended, especially if you like it very light, because it's done pretty well without the fries. Great salad, great taste. I love it. And I'm just taking my time with this because, you know, it's a good amount of wine and I just want to lose myself in the moment. Now, if ever you do come here and you're looking for something besides tartare, most of the places I see say, you know, they're to share it. Almost like, you know, getting a plate of tartare to share, maybe a plate of, let's see, what else was there? Buffalo mozzarella with basil and old tomatoes. So yeah, that's like something you would split as a salad. Even something like a lobster bisque with the snail. Because yeah, snail is pretty big in French cuisine from what I've seen, which makes kind of sense. So keep that in mind. And you can even get like a little platters of, let's say, cold cut cheese or a mix of them too. So definitely, it's really worth checking out if you like that kind of stuff. So once I finish off this little glass of Tuscan wine, I'll see what I do afterwards. You never know what's going to happen. I actually had to ask one of the people that worked here about the wines because I did a look on my phone for the SAQ or the Quebec Liquor Agency, and as far as I could tell, this wine was not available anywhere in their branches, but apparently what they do is that they actually have a lot of private imports at this place. So that means that you can get a glass, you can get a bottle to share with people, or you can even get a bottle for takeout at a discount. So it's a nice way to discover some new wines that you can't get anywhere else. And I was kind of tempted to get maybe another round before I hit the road, but I decided I was going to play it safe and go for an allongé. Allongé, once again, is just basically like one shot of espresso with maybe one shot of water, or like 1.5 shots of water, like just something that kind of extended so you're able to take your time with a single espresso. It's a good one. And the way I do my espressos too is that I like to have a little bit of milk on the side just to take the bite out of it. But I did get a little bottle of milk, just to be able to use. So it's kind of nice. I'll be able to water it down as much as I need. And worst case, if I need to save it, then I'm just gonna drink this stuff because I don't want to let good milk go to waste. Gotta say, for a rainy Saturday, this was an amazing way to spend my day. Good wander, good coffees, great tartare, great brews, and also showing off some wine on the channel, which, as far as I can tell, rarely happens. It's like once every couple of months, if anything. But on that note, thanks for watching this latest edition of the Wanyuki Cheese Cafe. So once again, if you like what you see, just be sure to hit that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy my wanders, my explorations around Montreal, and etc. And if you have any ideas of future episodes, like something I can check out around here, or even a recipe I can make at home, leave in the comments. I'll see what I can do. Until then, have a happy Saturday and happy middle of August. Which yeah, means basically happy a couple of weeks before going back to school. And I know technically summer finishes on September 21st, but summer vacation is almost going to be coming to an end. I'm telling you, summer always felt like it lasted longer when I was a kid compared to nowadays where summer just lasts, it just flies by. Crazy how the passage of time works when you're a kid versus an adult.